very ones that this national government is standing beside.
Lees-Galloway.
Very much, Mr Chairman. This new Part 4 proposed by Phil Twyford it's important that the House adopts this measure because it actually gives effect to the purpose of this bill. The purpose of the bill is to support the wider government program of work to increase the supply and affordability of housing. Now, I'm prepared to accept that Part 1 goes some way to increasing the supply of housing, but where this bill overall is deficient is in increasing the affordability of housing. And that's why Part 4, which extends the Bright Line test from 2 years to 5 years, is important as part of a suite of measures to actually tackle the issue of affordability. The purpose of this bill is sound, to deal with both supply and affordability. And as I say, it goes some way, a small way, we would argue on this side, towards dealing with supply, but doesn't do very much about affordability. Now, there's no doubt that one of the drivers of the increasing levels of unaffordability, particularly in the Auckland housing market, is speculation, where people are purchasing houses for the sole purpose of on-selling them at a profit. And that is, stepping back and looking at things through a purely economic lens, that makes quite a lot of sense. The housing market is, in the Minister's own words, out of control. House price inflation in Auckland is rampant. There is capital gain to be made. And actually 2 years isn't a terribly long time to wait. You can put some tenants in there. You may not even bother putting tenants in there because the potential gains are so significant that a lot of landlords would actually say, look, I'm not going to risk putting people into the property. They may damage the property. I'm not going to risk putting people into the property. I'm just going to sit on it for 2 years and then I'll get my tax-free gain after that period of time. And so it's actually necessary, and my colleagues have discussed some of the advice that was given to the government on this, it is necessary to actually extend this Bright Line test out to a period where it's actually going to influence behaviour. Because at the moment, we are not seeing any influence on behaviour. In fact, the Minister of Revenue just came to the House and said it was never intended to influence behaviour. So I think that's a surprising and astonishing admission from the government that their current Bright Line test is not having an impact on the affordability of housing. We need to make this move. If the government is serious about improving the supply and affordability of housing, then we have to extend this Bright Line test to a period that's actually going to change landlord behaviour, that is actually going to encourage people to tenant their houses, make them available for people, and to hold on to them for a long period of time, not just flick them for capital gain. And that then should go some way to having an impact on the overall levels of speculation in the Auckland housing market and in other markets around the country, and have an impact on affordability. Now, no one is saying that speculation is the only driver of housing inaffordability. It is not the only driver of house price inflation. But as part of a suite of measures, and members on this side have already attempted to introduce one measure through Part 3, and I know that other measures are on the table, as part of that comprehensive package of measures, this change to the Bright Line test will have some impact on speculation, and having some impact on speculation will have some impact on housing affordability. And that's what's missing from this bill. There's actually nothing in the legislation for special housing areas that puts a caveat on what you do with the house once you've bought it in a special housing area. So actually right now someone could buy a house in a special housing area, flick it after 2 years and get tax-free capital gain. So we actually need this measure to make special housing areas work. So it's entirely appropriate that it be included in this piece of legislation. And if the government was serious, then they would get on board with this. They agree with having a Bright Line test. They introduced it, they set it at 2 years. Why not make that measure do what it's intended to do, set it at 5 years and have an impact on affordability?